You know what? I'm going to have a little bit of fun with him. I'm allowing him to get a new queen here.
Imagine being so goated at something that you don't just go 11 out of 11 on 11-11 against the strongest grandmaster field in the world in weekly online chess, but in the process you humiliate 2700 rated opponents on chess.com. Magnus Carlsen's victim in this game is the Turkish FIDE master Efe Yavuz. What did he do to deserve this? What a game I've got for you. He opens with knight f3, trying to stay solid. Magnus invites a Sicilian, but no. He wants to play this solid, tried and tested, get your king into bed on move 4. That's how you keep your chess coach happy, but he's playing Magic Carpetson, world number 1. He will find your man cave. He will drink your beer. We get knight c3. This is known as the symmetrical variation in chess.com. And after queen d7, we enter the ultra symmetrical variation, which makes zero sense. I think someone over there at chess.com is just having a giggle with us. Just think of some random BS names. They'll never notice. We now see pawn e3, and what are we all playing here? Surely a bit of knight f6 action. Castle that king, maybe b6 if you're feeling frisky, but Magnus plays. Bishop takes on c3. Who does that? You're taught to hold on to that dark squared bishop, protect the dark squares. This is some next level super grandmother chess. And one of the best follow-up moves is pawn f6. I got no clue anymore. Magnus still plays pawn f5. Big question mark. But as usual, he's trying to bamboozle and confuse his opponents. An immediate e4 is actually best. Here's a sample line. And White's doing pretty well. Obviously Magnus knows this, he mentions it on stream, but as usual, his opponents don't understand it all as well as he does. Knight f6 now, and you're best to go knight d2. Prepare pawn e4, hold the central pawns here and the space. But we get takes. Pawn recaptures and bishop a3. Now White's got a serious idea in mind. Win this pawn. You could go knight e4 to defend it here, but we gotta love how Magnus plays. He goes like this, and he's preparing an exchange sacrifice because this is not supposed to be possible. As you can see though, the way White plays is not the best. What's the problem with this? Well, you're losing an exchange. This is the game. A rook gobbled up in the corner. Thank you very much. Delicious.
Mushrooms.
Magnus takes here, and this is his point. He's got a pawn and a knight for the rook, and look at this woeful bishop. Dropping back immediately to the starting square is best, even though it looks like you're despairing and setting up for the next game. But this was played. Never go into an endgame with queens off against Magnus. He takes with the king. Bishop's under fire, retreating. King c7 played, and now you're best to get that bishop out of dodge. But it's not played. We see the move of rook d1. And Magnus smells something fishy here. And I don't mean that beautifully stinky fermented Oslo trout wafting in through the upstairs window. Just kidding, he's actually travelling, very well rested, he said. That's why he's playing such good chess. But I mean stockfish stinky, like you played a bad move. Because the pawn's now hit, so the bishop gives itself up. This one now takes, but look at the bishop on c1. Poor guy's entombed worse than Tutankhamun. What's the order of the day? It's f3. If your pieces aren't at the party, you have to try and bring them to the party any way how. We saw a similar theme in that incredible queen sack game that Hari Krishna played. Game of the year, really. I'll link at the end in case you missed it. This is how White should have played. Still worse, but you die less slowly. This was played, however, and it's a straight blunder. What's the winning move? Bishop g4, of course. Rook moves, well, you lose an entire bishop. So bishop e1, Magnus wins back his exchange, and now he's just a pawn ahead. got all the same positional dominant trumps, better minor piece, etc. You could march with the king, but Magnus decides to push his 3-on-2. He says at the time he's not in a patient mood, and yet that changes, because he soon toys with his opponent in the most hilarious way. First hitting this pawn here, now king f4 is played. Fine, thank you, I'll eat that pawn. Takes, creates a little bit of a threat. Take the knight, king takes rook, but not really, because after rook takes knight, you can actually take the bishop. So this is a perfectly fine way to play, but Magnus goes for this. Forces the king to g5. Well, g4 possible, but this more logical. Now we see takes. King h6 on the board. Rook e2 double hit. h4 played, of course. Takes, run that one, baby. Rook takes on a2. King h7. And the hilarious moment is on the way here, because right at this moment, Magnus could play pawn a4. We've got to show this because it's kind of the professional way to win, if you like, not the fun way. Now, king can take here to run the h-pawn down the board here. Knight d2 hits the rook. Now, if bishop takes, you get something like this, right? And the point is, you don't let white promote to a queen. Quick sample line, and okay. Black wins this game very easily. Can even do the old classic sack and push this one. What if running all the way back here, we didn't get bishop takes? The rook just moves to d1. Let's show another line quickly. One sample. Again, you're forcing through a queen. You know, if takes on the corner there, then there would have been takes. One quick sample. Check. No queen. So that's really the way to go. But Magnus does this, right?
You know what? I'm going to have a little bit of fun with him. I'm allowing him to get a new queen here.
Takes. Knight takes. Bishop c3. Knight bouncing around to hit the pawn. Knight d1 was also possible. Now king takes. The pawn's running. Magnus brings in his king. Bishop on this diagonal to stop b2. You've got a choice of running pawns. This is apparently better, but Magnus goes with this, and he's allowing his opponent to make a queen just to humiliate. Just to stick the knife in and twist. Oh, you're so close. Not close enough, Montsouris. We now see this takes with check. King going. Few more checks here. Now Magnus runs with the king. You know, queen c3 could be a threat. Don't want to get too weird. Queen b8 check played. King a4. And you've got no checks. Knights are excellent defenders of the king against checks, by the way. Stick one somewhere in the vicinity, the checks should run out. We now see bishop d4, huge blunder, no clue why it doesn't get the double question marks. What does Magnus play? Of course the check. Pick up a loose piece here, check, but I love the finish. Check, king b7, okay, why haven't you resigned yet? Not for this, but for this. The Rosen trap, named after Eric Rosen, looking for some stale meat. I dare you to try and make a second queen. Whoops. King's in jail, can't move, but isn't in check. That's a stalemate, of course. Magnus sees it, lands a checkmate like this. You also could have done it from b4. Wonderful game. Absolutely loving these tournament games. I'll try and get to one more soon, but I can't get a video up tomorrow. I'm traveling a bit this week. Also, I can't fully cover the World Cup. Hope you enjoyed anyway, and have a look at the video on screen if you missed that incredible Queen Sacrifice by Harry Krishna. So good. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you soon. Cheers.